Here's Mehdi Hasan speaking with Piers Morgan about the Trump assassination attempt. This happened on Wednesday.
This will be
and good. He asked, and Piers is trying to make this, there's violent rhetoric on both sides, which is
insane.
An insane assertion.
I love it when there's balance in the universe.
No one prior to the assassination attempt was saying that Biden was engaged in violent rhetoric against Trump. But then the assassination attempt happens, and then we have to have Lester Holt come out and say, are you going to tone down the rhetoric that you weren't engaging in before because you said in a private call we need to put the bullseye on Donald Trump? We're going to pretend that's incitement when Trump was telling people in the audience to like beat up reporters or beat up protesters at his events. So apparently it's both sides.
Kamala Harris. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, leadership of the Democratic Party. Can you play to me clips of them inciting violence in the same way as Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, Paul Gosar?
Why are you deflecting?
Because you are deflecting, Piers. I'm not going to sit here and let you do both sides bullshit
you
tonight.
Might be conflating.
This is a Republican Party is a party of
Mehdi,
violence.
You might be conflating
Piers,
the
I
two
can sit all
roles.
day with you.
Mehdi.
Now you're cutting me off.
Mehdi.
Hold on, now you're cutting
I'm
me
just
off.
reminding
Let me
you
answer your question.
I'm reminding you it's actually my show and I do the questions and you answer them. On yours, it's the other way around.
Let me answer the question then.
Right.
Let me answer the question. There are not two sides.
When you say
it's
not two sides, but I've played you a bunch of clips of people repeatedly calling him Hitler, I say to you, there's the two sides.
All right, so let me respond. Can I respond?
Yep.
Can I respond? Okay, let me respond. Donald Trump ran for office in 2016 telling protesters rallies to punch people who pay their bills. As president, he played a clip of a guy saying the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat. He said to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. He called Nazis at Charlottesville. Now, let me finish. You're interrupting me, Piers. I need to finish my sentence if you get to finish yours. I'm on your show. I'm a guest. I'm answering. Let me get to I'm pointing out this is not two sides. What Donald Trump has said, your viewers need to hear this because you're not telling them this. Trump spent his entire presidency inciting violence against Ilhan Omar, George Soros, multiple members of Congress, people of color, right? He left office, right, having incited an insurrection which you condemned. He told them to go fight like hell. He said Mark Milley should be executed, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
What's this got to do with my question?
He mocked Paul Pelosi. I'm getting to it. He mocked Paul Pelosi for being hammered in the head.
He was wrong to do that. That was outrageous. To be executed. It's not about whether he was wrong, Piers. I can give you dozens of actual violent quotes from Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar. You can't
just pause
give
it
me
real quick because there's a famous one. Hillary wants to abolish essentially the Second Amendment. If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment, people, maybe there is. I don't know.
Piers, he'll get to it, but comparing Trump to Hitler, which, by the way, his vice presidential pick did.
Which he also had if I didn't want to be compared to Hitler, I'm not keeping a book of his speeches on my nightstand for my ex-wife.
But it's not an incitement to violence. Like that's the example that Piers could come up with.
It's literally used as an incitement to vote.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Violent quotes from Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar. You can't give me those quotes.
Can you get back to my
from
question?
Biden, Pelosi, Jeffries. No, answer my question. Where did Joe Biden say the only good Republican is a dead Republican?
Mehdi.
But it's not both sides, Piers. You can't deflect, Piers. The viewers are watching.
Your side has literally spent 8 years calling him Hitler. It's ridiculous to say there's no both sides.
We've already discussed the Hitler point. Where have they incited violence?
Let me ask
Where did Biden say go kill people?
You can't keep asking me
questions.
No,
Piers, I'm not letting this go. Sorry. General Mark Milley, he called for his execution. Can you point to me to a single Democrat who's called for a Republican execution?
Let me ask you again.
Wait. I won't interrupt you.
Let me ask you.
I'm pausing for 1 second. Here's the question, right? Okay. Piers is arguing that merely calling someone Hitler is an incitement to violence. Because Hitler presumably was the worst person that anybody could ever name. Then the question becomes, okay, at what point do you compare someone to someone else and it doesn't become violence?
Right.
Like Pol Pot. Pol Pot, pretty bad too. If you called someone Pol Pot, would that be an incitement to violence? What about Marx? What if you said someone was Marxian? Because a lot of right-wingers believe that because of Karl Marx, we had socialism, and because of socialism, millions of people died in the Soviet Union. What about if you call them Saul Alinsky? Is that an incitement to violence? I mean, where does it end? What if you just say that they're like, I don't know, like Michael Jackson? Well, some people think that, and there's reason to believe, that he was a pedophile and therefore he's got to be stopped. Or what if someone just says, you're like Phil Collins? I really don't like Phil Collins' music. I mean, at what point does the name calling become an incitement to violence? That's what Piers Morgan has to establish here. Whereas Mehdi is actually talking about taking actions, like a call for action. Go ahead.
Republican execution.
Let me ask you
I'll
again.
wait. I won't interrupt you.
Let me ask. No,
I'm waiting, Piers. Point me to a single Democrat who's called for an execution.
Mehdi, respectfully, it's my show. I ask the questions. Now listen, answer me this. If he is the new Hitler, as so many people have been calling him, would there be a moral justification in shooting him?
Of course not. I'm not someone who advocates violence, Piers. The Republicans are, but you never asked them about it because you're supportive of the Republican
Stop deflecting,
Party.
Mehdi.
Okay,
Stick to your side.
Yeah, pause this really quickly. Piers is skipping the step. He's saying calling him Hitler is an incitement to violence because then people might think, wow, this person is so bad that they need to be assassinated. Okay, calling this political figure Hitler, comparing it to him, which, by the way, not Pelosi or, he can't come up with
He says so many
examples
people because he can't say a specific high-ranking person.
Exactly. So, but that's not what an incitement to violence is. The examples that Mehdi is giving are calls for violence. You can't say a comparison is going to be so extreme that it leads to someone concluding that violence is the answer. The incitement to violence is the call for violence in and of itself. So he's being disingenuous by skipping the step, by relying on the implication of what calling Trump Hitler is, as opposed to what the words say.
Violet Chid has a good point. Hitler committed suicide, so it only the only in violence incites would be suicide. There you go.
All right.
Ask them about it because you're supportive of the Republican Party.
Mehdi.
You like to
Stick to your side.
You're above the fray. I'm not deflecting. I answered your question. I just said I don't support
It's
violence.
not
The only
symmetrical.
people who support violence in American political culture are Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, Paul Gosar, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Montana, who was convicted for assaulting a journalist. Trump praised him. Paul Pelosi was hammered by a guy who believed in election lie. Trump praised him. I mean, this is insane, Piers. There's one side that is inciting violence, praising violence, mocking violence. You have no problem with them. Instead, you obsess over journalists reporting accurately.
Actually,
that
I
Trump
heard
has
the
quoted
president.
Hitler and praised Hitler.
I read that the president of the United States, only 3 days before Donald Trump was shot, said it's time to put him in the bullseye. If that's not violent language,
come on,
what
Piers.
is?
This is such bad faith. You know perfectly well Biden was not inciting violence. It's a figure of speech. He's already foolishly apologized for it.
Okay.
You're comparing that to calling for the execution of Mark Milley.
So every
Piers.
time your side
Hold on,
uses
are
violent
you-
language, they don't mean it. But every time the other side
He
does, they
literally
do.
said, hold on. Oh, my word. Piers, come on. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump called for their opponents to be executed. Did Biden do that? I'll ask again. You dodged it the first time.
No.
Did Joe Biden do that? And you're obsessed with Hitler.
Yes,
Trump
I'm
called
obsessed with
Biden
Hitler because
called him
you
the
and so many
Gestapo.
others keep
So
calling
then
him
why
Hitler.
haven't you condemned Trump? So does Trump. Trump called Biden the Gestapo just 2 months ago. Did you condemn him on this show?
Right.
Yes
Should
or no?
people? Okay, let me ask you this: should people?
No. Did you
hang
condemn
on,
Trump?
Mehdi?
No,
I'm
no,
asking you
you're
a
obsessed with
question.
Hitler. No,
I'm
sorry,
asking you a
Piers.
question.
You've made this entire interview about Hitler.
I'm asking
Did you
you.
condemn Biden? Did
I'm
you condemn
asking
Trump
you.
for calling Biden the Gestapo?
Should people on
Did
the
you-
left continue?
Did you condemn Trump?
Should Mehdi?
You
let me
didn't,
ask
obviously.
a question. Should people on the left continue to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler? Yes or no?
Should the right call Biden Hitler?
Stop
because they called-
deflecting,
because Trump called him
Mehdi.
Gestapo.
Answer
It's
the
not
question.
deflecting. I'm pointing out your biases, Piers.
I'm asking you a question
You're
about
pointing
your
at Biden.
side.
Oh, my side is as long as Trump carries on praising Nazis, I'll point that out. I'm not.
Yeah.
This show is called Piers Uncensored, but you want to stop me from criticizing Trump
No.
because a Republican
I
shot
don't
at
want
him
to stop you.
with a
Why do you say
Republican
that?
gun? No.
Why do you say that?
You just said, will you stop comparing him to Hitler?
Yes.
I'm only comparing him to Hitler because he talks like Hitler.
So you
If he
are
stops
comparing him
talking
to
like
Hitler,
I'll
who
stop
killed
comparing-
12 million people.
Because he's quoting Hitler. No, I'm not.
So you do think he's the new
This is
Hitler?
childish.
So you do think he's Hitler?
No, I think he's. No, I don't. I already said no, Piers. This is very hard
so
to
understand. So he's not the new Hitler.
He's not the new Hitler. But
if he's not the new
This
Hitler,
this is so pedantic.
The answer is who cares if they call him
But, you know, I think there's probably some value in having that litany of things, listed on Piers Morgan's show. But the idea that he's Hitler, there's another way to have stopped Hitler in 1933, let's say, or in 31. Don't let him rise to political power.
J.D. Vance called him Hitler.
Yeah.
I mean, it was disgusting.
And he said that in a private message, like Biden saying the bullseye comment in a private donor call. So was J.D. Vance inciting violence against his current president as the VP? Because he said it in private. It's so silly.
I'm not apologizing for calling a leader of the Republican Party or comparing a leader of the American Republican Party to a fascist. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
People can draw their own conclusions.
And while we're at it, let's throw Netanyahu in there too.
Absolutely. I mean, I would use a Hitlerian for Netanyahu.
Yeah.
All right.
Genocide.
Final call of the week. I got to move some of these things around here.
Trump's more Mussolini.
I think that's the point. I think Mehdi should have said,
He's
you know
more
what?
Mussolini.
I agree with you. He's Mussolini more than he is Hitler.
I actually do think it is more.
That would have been awesome.
Because nobody says when you kill baby Mussolini.
No, nobody would say you killed baby Mussolini. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.